Hey everyone, it's Carly Hall and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be showing you a product by Siser called EasyColor DTV. DTV stands for direct to vinyl and it's a white printable material that you can print using your home printer. No special ink is needed, and then you can cut it out using your cutting machine, mask it, and transfer it to your projects that are cotton or polyester, and they're working on figuring out if it can be applied to other materials too. So today I'm showing you this product on a 50% blend, so 50% cotton, 50% polyester, and I'm super impressed with the results, and I'll walk you through how to make this from start to finish. Before I get started, I wanted to show you how it looks on your final product. It doesn't have much of an edge, so it's super smooth. It's really thin, which I love, and the cool thing about this is since it's a vinyl, it does have a little stretch. So the shirt isn't super stretchy, but if I stretch the image, you can see that there's a little bit of give and rebound. So it's a pretty cool product and I think you'll like it. So let's get started and I'll show you how to use it. In Design Space, I added an image of my dog and just some text behind her so that I could print this out and see how this material does around more intricate cuts as well as larger cuts. So resize your image to be the size that you want. I'm actually going to make this one a little bit bigger. I'm going to make it 6 inches. And then I'm going to add a weeding box around my image. To add a weeding box, click on the Shapes panel here and choose the shape you're looking for. I'm using a square, so I'll unlock that and we'll resize it to fit my image. Click Arrange and send to the back. And I want to get it close to my image, but not too close. Then I'm going to highlight both of my images and click Align Center. Since we're not printing out the square, it can be any color we want, but I'm going to change it to white just so that it makes sense to my brain. And then we're going to select both and click Attach. We don't want to flatten them together since I want my image still to be cut out around the letters, and additionally I want it to be cut around the square. If I flatten them together, it would tell the Cricut that I only want to cut that square, which is not what I want to do. If this is the first time working with Siser EasyColor DTV, I would recommend adding a test cut, either a shape or a letter. I like to add the letter R, so I'm going to click on Text and then type the letter R. Move it over here. It doesn't have to be large. The default settings are fine. And then I'm going to use a system font. So up at the top, System. And then I'm going to use Times New Roman because I feel like Times New Roman has a good amount of little detail cuts as well as a curve and straight lines. So this is going to be our test cut, and I'll show you how to position that on your material so that you don't waste any material. Okay, so we can leave that just plain gray. It's a basic cut, and then we have our print then cut attached to our square. So we'll go ahead and click Make It. And since we are printing and then cutting, we do need a mat, so we'll click on a mat and click Continue. And then we can continue on down here. The first thing we'll do is we'll send it to the printer. You're going to be printing on the white side. And for this material, we do not need to mirror our image. So we'll click Send to Printer, and here are my printer settings. I'm using my wide format craft printer. You can use whatever home printer that you have. Again, you don't need any special ink. This is regular inkjet printer ink. And then 1 copy, Add Bleed. Add Bleed will add a little bit of black around my image so that no white shows, which is always good to toggle on. And then you'll want to toggle on Use System Dialog, and that will open up our printer settings window. Your window may be behind your design space, so you'll want to locate where that window is. And then we'll feed from the rear tray. I like to choose photo paper and toggle that to best, and then click Print. So here's my print. It printed out with the black box, which my Cricut needs to determine where my image is. So that looks great. And I wanted to talk about if you don't want to use a Cricut machine to cut this out, let me show you what happens. So the image is white. So if you decide that you just want to take some scissors and cut around the image, you can absolutely do that. But just note that there will be a white box around your image. So you can see here that I have that white material, and then there's my t-shirt material. Whereas if you use your Cricut, to cut around your image, you won't have any of that white in between your letters. You'll have the t-shirt material. So if you don't have a Cricut or a cutting machine, you can use scissors and cut around your images, but I would recommend cutting them tight so that you don't have any of the white, or be intentional and just cut a box so that you have the white box lines around your image. So now that we have our image printed, let's add it to a Cricut mat. So I'm using a standard grit mat, and I'm going to stick it in the upper left-hand corner, the same orientation that you can see on Design Space. And before we cut it, since I wanted to show you how to determine your settings, we're going to click on the second mat, and this is how I do my test cuts. On Siser's website, it says for the Cricut Explorer Air to use the setting Vinyl Plus. So on my Maker 3, I tried vinyl. I also tried with more pressure, and then I tried several other settings as well. And what I landed on was the printable iron-on setting. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So in Design Space, we're going to choose Browse All Materials. And then I opened up this window, and down at the bottom here, I clicked on Material Settings, and then I scroll down to Printable. Printable Iron-On Dark, and the pressure set at 100, that's the standard, but it's set at 1 cut. And I did that with 1 cut, and it didn't cut through as much as I wanted, so I increased it to 2. So in order to do that, you'll click on the Edit tab here, and you'll just choose 2. So these settings worked pretty well for me. You'll have to let me know in the comments if they work for you. So then to choose that material, you open up your All Materials window again, so Browse All Materials, and then you can actually just search for Printable. And you'll want to choose Printable Iron-On Dark since we just adjusted that to 2 cuts. Then on this window, if you look at my design, you can see that right around the 9-inch mark, I have a lot of area that I can cut my test cut. So I'm going to move my R down to 9 inches. So I'm just going to stick it right here because I know I have enough room on my paper. So we'll click Done. And then I'm going to load my project into the Cricut and cut the R. All right, so here's my test cut. I just grabbed a hook and I'm going to weed it to make sure that it cut through, which it did. It did lift up the edges a little bit. I don't think that's a problem because it didn't shred it or anything, but it is important to note that this material may not be the best for super intricate cuts. So just note that it did lift a little bit on those more detailed edges. And then just for the test cut, I'm going to pull this completely off of the liner so we can take a look. And it did get caught on the edges just a little bit, so I'm going to help it out. And this is the best setting that I found. So again, I'm curious if you have found a better setting, but even with it getting caught a little bit, it's a really good, clean cut. Again, with the curves and the straight lines, I'm really happy with this setting, but leave in the comments if you have found a setting that you like more. So you can see here that I was able to utilize that negative space down here to do my test cut, and then now I can run this through my Cricut with confidence that it will cut through properly. The other cool thing about this material is you can see the stretch really well when you have these little pieces to pull out. So it is a really cool product. All right, now let's cut our print. Again, you'll click Browse All Materials, search for Printable, Printable Iron-On Dark, click Done. And then you'll notice that over here, this is the image that you're cutting, and it's indicated by the gray box. So if you're cutting this one, it would be highlighted this way. We're cutting this one, so it's highlighted this way. You'll load your mat and material into your Cricut machine. And once your Cricut is ready to start, you can click the Go button and it will read the black lines and determine where to cut. So here's our print. It's all done cutting. And the benefit of that weeding box is that we can just grab that box and easily weed around our image. And it's a kiss cut, so it's leaving the rest of our image on the liner, which is really cool because then we're going to apply a mask to easily transfer it to our project. So we're just going to peel away this excess and then all these inside cuts. And I'm just going to go kind of slow on these more intricate pieces because it did seem to kind of get hung up a little bit when we were weeding that R. So I'm just going to help it a little bit and make sure to get all the insides of the letters. So I don't necessarily think this product is the best for super intricate cuts. It did okay, but it's not as clean as a regular iron-on. I did leave these little pieces in my project because I was interested to see how well the project would cut those. And on some it did better than others. So now that we're all weeded, I just want to pick up the inside of my project. So I like to apply my mask while my project is still on the mat. So you have a couple of options here. We can use a knife and cut away the excess so that we can use that for another project, which is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut along this part. And since my printer can print on small pieces, I can just print on Silhouette Studio or Adobe Illustrator and utilize these small little scraps for additional projects. And then for this part, you can either trim it down or just peel away your extra vinyl since I can't use those scraps. Now, before I apply the mask, I wanted to talk about the mask that came with the product. So they sell the printable sheets and then these sheets of masking. And I tried these and I struggled really badly with them. It wasn't picking up my project. It wasn't holding my project. It released my project just fine, but getting it to stay on, it was a struggle. So I'm not able to recommend this at this time. And we're going to use a different heat transfer mask. So I have my large industrial size roll. So I'm going to use this and I will link it in the video description. And I'm just roughly cutting down to size. And to apply it, it works just like transfer tape, except it's heat resistant. So I'm just going to stick it onto my project and it's really sticky. So my advice here is to peel just a little bit and then smooth it out as you're going so that it doesn't pick up the ink and accidentally ruin your project. Because if you have to reposition it and you peel it back, it will lift the ink. So you want to make sure that you get it laying down on your project flat the first time. Then I'm going to brayer it. And since we didn't mirror our image, we are going to transfer it with the image face up. So before we transfer it, we're going to peel back the masking. And that's what should happen. It should just easily pick up your design. And I could not get it to do that with the Siser masking. So I'm definitely going to recommend the 143 vinyl masking, which I will put a link in the video description. So now we can apply our transfer. On Siser's website, it recommends using either a heat press, easy press, or iron, and we're going to use the Cricut Easy Press. So it says preheat your blank for 3 seconds and then transfer 25 to 35 seconds at 340 using medium pressure, and you'll want to peel it hot. I'm using the 6x7 Easy Press, so I'm going to power that on. I already have it set to start heating to 340, so I've just hit the temperature icon and set that to 340, and then I'm going to press for 25 seconds. So we'll let that heat up. Our Cricut Easy Press is ready, so I'm going to preheat this for 5 seconds, and I'm just going to smooth out all the wrinkles and pull out any moisture that may be in the t-shirt. So I just want to smooth everything out. This is a toddler tee that I'm working with, and I usually do 3 fingers down from the neckline for an adult tee and 2 fingers down from the neckline for a toddler or smaller tee. So 2 fingers down, and then we're going to peel our transfer. So as a reminder, the masking is on the front of my project, and I'm just going to peel away that liner. Oops, and you can see that the E isn't all the way coming off, so I'm just going to help it by rolling back slowly so that it picks it up. Let me work on a harder surface. So my image is held onto the masking, and then we'll place it onto our t-shirt, doing 2 fingers down from the neckline, just about. And I love working with this masking material because it makes it so easy to line up your project. Imagine trying to place all these letters and get them straight and even like your design was. So the masking is really great for that. So I did a little less than 2 fingers from the neckline. And then we'll smooth it out. And then I'm going to press. So I decided at the last second to change my settings to match the heat press settings. So I'm going to do 310 for 15 seconds because I feel like after looking at my first project, it looks like it melted a little bit. So I'm going to adjust my settings and we're going to do 310 for 15 seconds. The instructions say that we should peel it while it's still hot. So we'll just peel this while it's still hot. The masking that you use for this project can be reused. So I save my liner and I just place it right back on my liner so that I can use it for additional projects. And I do prefer the application at 310 degrees for 15 seconds. I'll show you the comparison. So on the shirt that I showed you at the beginning of the video, you can see that there's a little bit of melted vinyl. You can see it when it catches the window, the sheen there. And if you look at the second one I did, this one is much more even. So I would recommend using the heat press settings even for an easy press because I think the overall quality is much better. So here's a look at the final project. I'm in love with this material. I think it's so cool. I would never guess that I printed this on my home printer. It's so even and crisp, and the material is really thin. So when I run my hand over it, you can just barely feel a lip or an edge of that vinyl. It doesn't feel like a sticker or anything like that. It's super thin. And like I showed in the beginning of the video, it does have a little bit of give. So you can really pull this material and it rebounds really nicely. So that's really cool that it does have a little bit of stretch, and you can see it on this image as well. So I'll pull it and it rebounds really nicely. As for the care instructions, you will want to let this cure for the next 24 hours before washing it. So Siser recommends that you just leave this out before washing it, and then when you do wash it on cold and tumble dry on low. So I can't speak to how it holds up, but I will track every time I wash it so that I can report back in the comments or the video description how this is holding up. But I'm really thrilled with how it turned out. I would 100% recommend the Siser EasyColor DTV. I don't recommend their masking, but I will link to the masking that I used in today's video, which I had great results with. So I definitely recommend that. As always, I'll put all of my affiliate links in the video description. And by shopping through those links, I may earn a commission, and that's how I continue to create this content for free. So shopping through those affiliate links does directly fund this channel. So thank you in advance for shopping through those links. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions about today's project, make sure to leave them in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to like it and consider subscribing to my channel for more weekly craft content. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video.